Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to present you scenario on a construction company CTB. CTB is a market and a semi-permanent structure provider, and they are mainly doing the business in hiring those equipments. And also they're operating from a 3 offices, UK, Switzerland, and Netherlands. And along with that, they also have a 7 different depot within a European region. Their ambition to digitize their way of working among their users. And a second one, also they want to plan to retire their existing CRM system as well as the IMS system. Few risk and mitigations around this particular scenario. The first one, the CTP management think that options would be a very risky. To mitigate that particular risk, we need to promote the platform, internal as well as to the external users. Train the trainers, translation need to be in a place because in a European soil, we have a lot of different countries with a multiple language. Then also because of the European countries involved, the GDPR law comes in a picture. So we need to make sure that we are masking the data and we are not bringing the live production data to the lower environments. The next one, the data split in multiple systems like emails and Excel systems. So we require to have standardizations, the data glossary, business glossary to make sure that everyone understands the same level of language. And once that we migrated data from those old emails and Excel, we need to provide a way of working to the users so they can using a Salesforce platform optimum for account and contact management. Few assumptions, no compliance needed because my assumption is that SAP handles the data processing, the payment processing behind the scene. And currently there is a data where exists to archive data. If that's not the right thing, then we can also move the data to the Heroku and make a Heroku as the data warehouse options. Moving on quickly to the overall solution overview. I will go with a single org because of the unified business process across the different countries. There is a large data volume with respect to the orders and with respect to the order lines, but that can be manageable by archiving the data. There's a high degree of collaboration needed among the different various groups of this particular scenario. I'm also proposing to use a multi-language and multi-currencies because we have opportunities and orders and as well as the codes. Then to support the languages, I propose to use the custom labels on a custom components and also the translation workbench, community translations for the customer community, predominantly for the maintenance people as well as to the customers and also the language speakers at the top. Moving on to the actors and licenses. To start with the internal licenses, we have a service agents. So for them, they need to use the omni-channel and also the cases. I'm proposing to use the service cloud license to them. For operational specialist, I'm proposing to use the service cloud licenses because of the cases, assets, and order access. The sales rep, purely they require the opportunity and code, purely sales related objects. So I'm proposing to use the sales cloud licenses. For team leaders, I'm proposing to use the account opportunity orders and cases objects because they are also working on a few of the cases. I'm proposing to use the service cloud licenses. And bear in mind, for all the cases, we have the entitlements. That's the reason I'm proposing to use the service cloud licenses. For laborers, I do not see any way to provide access to the system. Moving on to the external users, the contract engineers, I'm proposing them to the customer community licenses because of the access on asset as well as the maintenance plan object. And also at the end, the customers will have a customer community licenses because they need to see the historical orders as well as the cases. Quickly moving on to the role hierarchy. So at the top, CEO and assume few levels like a UK manager, Swiss manager, and NL manager. And within that particular organization, we also have the team leaders and a sales rep in each main offices. The same replication will be happen also in a different 7 depots additionally to the main 3 locations that we have it in a scenario. Then also we have a service managers and a service agents will be reporting to the service manager. Then also we have the operations team that works across all the different countries. That's why I pull up at the top at the CEO level. There should be some managerial level in between, but for the time's sake, I just pull up the operations specialist reporting to the CEO. Quickly moving on to the system landscape. To start with the identity, I will have, we do have a AD as an identity store, and in conjunction with that one, we also have a ADFS. And here I'm proposing to use Azure in the cloud, which can sync with the ADFS and AD on a periodical basis. And with the Azure, we can set up the SSO with respect to Salesforce. We need to enable my domain so that we can have a deep linking and also have a initiated flow from Salesforce. Then also I'm proposing to use the ETL, especially for the data migration from .NET. The another homegrown applications which I'm planning to retire and move the all account contact management and also the opportunity management into the Salesforce ecosystem. I'm assuming that we have a data warehouse, but if it's not the case, then I can also propose to use the Heroku. But for time being, I'm assuming that we have a data warehouse. Then also there is the IMS system, and also this company would CTB would like to retire that system. So I'm also proposing to have a data migration from IMS through ETL towards the Salesforce. There is a telephony systems. I'm proposing to retire it and to have the direct Cti app exchange product like a talk test that can be directly installed on the Salesforce instance and can be integrated with the Service Cloud. Then I'm also proposing to use the ESP, especially to avoid any point-to-point integrations and also the message throttling and as well as the transformations which can be done by the ESP. And we'll have a couple of few integrations with respect to the SAP to send the orders for payment processing toward the SAP system, and the safety first also sending the inspection data back into the Salesforce using a ESP in between. Then we have also the third party system, the permit systems, assuming that per country will have some systems which provide the permits. So there will be multiple permits, different system providers. So I'm also proposing to use a ESP to send a request to the particular country's permit system provider and to get a permit for where we need to have that temporary construction to be in a place. In the Salesforce ecosystem, I'm proposing to use the Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and also Community Cloud. There will be two communities, one for the maintenance engineers and one for the customers. I'm proposing to also use the Marketing Cloud, especially for the mass email campaigns, DocuGen and a DocuSign to have the quote document to be generated and also for the signature purpose. I'm also proposing Xfile Pro, especially for storing the documents. The Xfile Pro is just an App Exchange product, but behind the scene, you require a different storage, for example, S3 or a Microsoft to store the documents. Then I'm also proposing a data masking because of the GDPR regulations. On the left-hand side, we have a Drupal-based website. I'm planning to retire that one, and we can have the guest website by using the community cloud, or we can host it. The next one, moving on to the mobile app strategy. So I'm proposing to use a native app for customer because there is a requirement for a highly branded mobile app for the customer, and that will be connected to the Salesforce system with a user agent and a REST APIs. For internal users, I'm going to use the standard mobile app. I'm not proposing the native app. Sorry for that one. And behind the scene, it will be the user agent flow plus the REST API to connect to the Salesforce instance over there. To have the connectivity between ESP and Salesforce, I'm proposing to have the reverse proxy, the JWT token as the exchange, and also with the mutual SSL, we can secure the connection between ESP and Salesforce. The similar mechanism will go with the ETL, but ETL, I am proposing to use the bulk API 2.0 for the mass loading of the data and also the JWT. Quickly moving on to the integration high level. The first integration from Salesforce to the credit rating system, and that will be the account entry that we are going to send it over there. And that will be the enhanced external enhanced service with a request and reply pattern. And when the operations teams working on that one, they can start a flow to initiate this particular integration. Then the second one from Salesforce to the SAP system for the sending the orders so that in a SAP system, the payment processing can be done. That will be the fire and forget with the platform events. And that will be also the operation team using the LWC component on the order lines. Then the another integration from the safety first for the inspection data that remote calling, Salesforce will provide a REST API to the ESP so that ESP can make a remote call in towards the Salesforce to store the data. Then moving on to the high level data model, let me start with the lead. So leads will be generated in the marketing cloud when the campaigns are generated within the marketing cloud instance, and marketing cloud connected to the sales cloud with a connector. And also all the campaigns can be created within a Salesforce instance, and that can be synced into the Marketing Cloud. And a Marketing Cloud does the campaign, and any new lead comes in, okay, that can be bring available into the Salesforce platform with a connector. Once that lead is available, then lead can be converted by the sales rep. That's where the account contact and also the opportunity get created. And the sales rep working on the opportunity with the different products, they already have it in a system. And those particular products also having some product options and also the combine of the products. That's nothing but the product bundles that is also anticipated as part of this particular scenario. So I'm proposing to use the two custom object, product bundle and product option to satisfy those requirements. The products also connected to the assets, and their assets also having the maintenance schedule, which need to be provided access to the external engineers so they can perform the maintenance. Once that opportunity and code processing happens, the whole opportunity management and code management happens with the customers and the sales rep, then the order can be created, and there will be also multiple order lines will be created specific to the particular products over that is mentioned in the opportunity and code. Then for every particular order, there is also some inspection when everything gets set up by the team leaders around that particular location. So that inspection data also stored in inspection object, and that is correlated to the order object. I'm also proposing to use the case object specially for the creating a cases by the customers as well as the internal cases for any damage. We'll make sure that the case get and we'll have a different record type to support that one. For different levels to support the accounts, especially with the bronze, silvers, and platinum, we'll also have an entitlement process, and those entitlement will be based upon the different category levels, and also they have a different milestones. And that when the case get created, we'll make sure that that particular entitlement will be applied on that particular cases so that people have a SLA to apply on that one. So that's all about the high level data model. Let's start with the business requirement. The first business process talks about the sales and marketing process. So here I'm proposing to use a marketing cloud, and with a marketing cloud connector, we'll have the data available within the Salesforce system as the leads. And then when the new customer, the sales will be coordinated with the operation to ensure account is viable. So for that one, I'm proposing to use the lead conversion for the particular lead. It will yield into the opportunity and also the account and contact. For one of the integration I was talking about, especially with respect to the checking of the accounts, we need to go to the operations part. Yeah. So here the external suppliers to get a credit rating. For that particular credit rating, I'm proposing to use this credit rating integration, which nothing but could be a different for every country. And I'm proposing to use the operation team will make use of flow initiation to make sure that they can get the credit rating for that particular account. I'm assuming that we'll get request and reply as soon as possible in a real time from the credit rating system. If that's not the case, then we need to think about a different approach. For example, sending the request to the credit rating system, and ESP is waiting to get that particular message, and then ESP send that message back to the Salesforce. But for now, I'm considering is a request and reply pattern. Continuing on the requirement, then reps will evaluate the location and makes discriminatory decisions. And they will also have some additional fields to make sure that there will be robust process in a place, so they will not miss anything in terms of taking decision to go ahead with that planning. So for that one, I'm proposing some additional fields on opportunity itself, and also the checklist as a task can be created on opportunity, and we can automate that process based upon the opportunity different type. We can have the task get created, and before moving into the task opportunity into the closed states, those tasks need to be completed by those particular sales rep, so that we'll have a mechanism by which they will not miss any step. Then the next one, the reps will also take the pictures of the construction area, and they're already having iPhones, and currently they're using the email. I'm proposing to use the standard Salesforce mobile app, and I'm not proposing to use the chatter notification, but I'm actually proposing to use those particular phones can be uploaded directly onto the opportunity record, and that particular opportunity record behind the scene is also connected to the X-File Pro. So it means that file is stored in a X-File Pro, not in a Salesforce, to save the disk space on a Salesforce instance. Then the rest will often work with the same team leaders. So I'm proposing to use the account team to facilitate that one. And the next one, the structures, marquee modular solid building vary in a size, but they can be only constructed in a single way. Uh, that's a mechanism that already there in the system. That's my assumption over here. Then some bundles of the products, tables, chairs, as well as the product dependencies are there. So that's the reason I'm proposing to have a model where in a data model, I have proposed to have the products along with the product bundles, and product bundles will be having the multiple products connected together, and also the product will have a multiple options if they want to provide to the customers. And I'm also yeah, that's the one. And also I'm proposing to use the LWC to perform the proper selections, because when they need to select the product bundles, automatically other products need to be there, need to be available into that particular opportunity. That cannot be done with a standard uh, user interface of the opportunity products. So I'm planning to use the LWC for the same. Then sales rep will sketch the layout and email the picture to the team. So again, I'm proposing the same, the standard mobile application, but also with the same mechanism which I mentioned before, where the X-File Pro will take care of actually storing the content. I'm not going to use the chatter, beg a pardon for me. Then the next one, the sales reps can apply the discretionary discounts. So I'm proposing to have a few discounted fields on the account object itself, and also I'm proposing to use a two-step approval process, one for operation manager and one for regional OM. Then the assembly and constructions are the most expensive components at the booking, and for that one, I'm also proposing them to create as a product within the system itself, and we can also add it on the opportunity for those products. And we can also have the daily rate, so you can have a number of quantities, number of days you can apply on top of that one. Then the next one, the CTP would like to have capture the signature immediately. For that purpose, I'm proposing to use the DocuGen and a DocuSign, working on the quote objects. And once we send the documentation to the DocuGen will return the document based upon the template available in a DocuGen, based upon a different language and a fields. And once the document come back into the Salesforce platform, I can also store it directly on the X-File Pro. And also we can create the signature envelope directly on the particular quote itself, and we'll put down the name of the contacts for that particular accounts, and the email signature will be requested to those users. Once the signature completed, then the signature envelope object will be updated, and based upon that one we can mark that opportunity has been closed. And behind the scene, we'll also use that mechanism to create an order, and operation teams are the owner. So when you create an order, we'll also make use of the flow, and we'll make sure that we will do the invocable method, and we'll have Apex because there is a complex product model options inside this particular scenario for which the flow might not be suffice. So we need to have the Apex processing to create orders. The next one, moving on to the operations. So here we talked about that first integrations where credit rating need to be done by the different system that will run to the ESP. Then they're creating a booking and want to advise how to manage this reservation mechanism in Salesforce. So this is the mechanism currently handled in IMS, but we are bringing everything into the Salesforce systems, including the products and also the prices. So that will need to be managed completely within a Salesforce system. And there are also the few requirements. I just combine that one to have one single solution over here. So here ops will check if the available, if it is available at another location, if that one of the product is not available, and also they will think about the shipping. So for that purpose, I'm proposing to have a one LWC component where it will show all the order and order lines. Behind the scene, when the order get created, it will do also the calculation within Apex code to check that if the asset is available or not based upon the availability date on the asset itself in the data model. Let me quickly go to the data model. Yeah. So when the order get created, uh, with the order lines, the asset availability date will be also checked. And if it is not available, it will be flagged on that particular LWC component over there. So at that particular point of time, the user or operation manager can take a look at it over there, and they can decide that they need to check at other location or not. And they can again have another button on the screen which will check on other locations, and that will also go back into the asset, and it will go again in a different particular depot that particular product is available. If it is available, then he can think about, okay, I can use this particular product, but that product is not available in any one of the depot, then he need to create an order for that one, and that will be the another integrations towards the SAP system to procure a new product. So I'm managing the whole flow of IMS using the LWC in conjunction with the order lines and asset. So after close of the opportunity, I'm going to use not a trigger, but the flow, but inside in it, basically the Apex code, the invocable method. Then all the order lines which are mapped, I'm booking them, I'm marking them status as okay, available by checking the dates on assets. And also I'm also checking on other locations that's based upon the asset object, if it is available. And if not, if otherwise, I will have integrations towards the SAP systems where the new particular product need to be provisioned. And assuming the shipping of the assets, everything will be handled outside of the system. Then opt to assign the job to the team leader. So here the order ownership changed to the team leader, and there will be lookup field on the order to select the team leader for that one. So the team leader can go and place that particular location according to the contract. So I'm going to use a flow to assign a team leader. Then operations also handles the maintenance of the particular assets. So here each asset has the separate maintenance schedule by product time. So I'm storing it in a custom metadata as the product and maintenance schedule. And once the particular maintenance is coming 3 months upfront, that's the requirement given in the scenario. I'm going to update the maintenance schedule by running the Apex job behind the scene by reading the data from a custom metadata, so that I can mark that this particular asset is planned for the maintenance. I'm also marking the skills associated required on a maintenance schedule itself by reading the data from by reading the data from assets, where I'm also putting the skills required to repair this particular product. Then then the next one, CTB would like to able to show the data from a system directly to the engineers. So that's why I'm proposing to them to use a customer community where they can have a look at the assets as well as the maintenance schedule. Then the asset will not be made available for hire if the maintenance is due. So that I'm going to take care of the LWC component, which I talk about over here, where if the particular date is coming 2 or 3 months, and also the time durations of that particular order, I'm not going to assign that particular asset for the particular order. Then moving on to the constructions and assembly inspections, the allocated team leader need to have full visibility of what has been sold. So he's the order owner, so he should able to see everything around that particular order. And checking the inventory, check the inventory in IMS and confirm delivery dates and times with the ops. Uh, so here the chapter communication order itself, and I assume that in checking in inventory is the offline process. And this is kind of ambiguity where it's already mentioned that IMS will be taken out of the service. But in my case, in this particular case, we do not require to this check because everything is there in a Salesforce. Then there will be also carry out site inspection and also take the photos. So I'm also proposing to the standard mobile app and also the X-File Pro combination to store that particular content. I'm not using a chatter feed for that one. Then there will be also check of the inventory as delivered. So that will be the flag on order lines for delivery to make sure that the product has been delivered at a particular location. And the team leader will just check that flag. Then there will be document to build through the process. So that particular documentation, again going back into the with a mobile device, that can be uploaded directly into the Xfile Pro. Then after the assembly, they will complete all inspections and a test as determine the safety first. So here the integration comes in a picture where we need to have only the inspection data, not the criteria, need to be available in a Salesforce system. And I'm proposing to have a remote call-in and a REST API integration towards the Salesforce system via ESP. Then there is also the readiness review, and there will be also some snag list. So I'm proposing to use a case object for the snag list so that we can make sure that we can properly track that everything gets solved or not. And once the issue gets closed, then we'll also have a sign off. That will be also an additional field on the status on the order that the customer had already been signed off. And we need to make sure that all the related cases get closed, what has been there in a point 7. So I'm going to use a flow on case to determine if order can be closed or not. The next one, the customer will sign off when the site has been cleared. So that will be an additional mark, status will mark on directly on the case itself. And also when the particular the assembly need to be happen, that will be another flag, and customer will also sign off directly on the order itself. So that's a reversal process than the assembly. Then the damage will be raised as a cases and assigned to the operations teams. So I'm going to use the reuse the integration too. If suppose one of the damage yields into the invoice, so that will be also the negative order will be sent out to the SAP system. And that will be done by the global action directly by the operations team. Then the next one, the future opportunity will require further approvals if suppose there is a lot of damage. So in that case, I'm going to flag account as a risky. Okay, that will be done based upon I think it's a manual way of doing by the operation folks to flag that particular account that is risky, and so that next time when the sales rep working on that one, that will be considered during the approval flow with a multi-step approval process to approve that particular opportunity. That will be the intricate will be fed into the approval flow. The next one, the initial quote and the final invoice or refund will be raised once the booking is complete. So I'm again going to reuse the integration, the second one from Salesforce to the SAP to send the order data towards the SAP so the proper processing can be done. Then also for the refund request, another order will be created. So I'm again reusing the another integration in this case, and also I'm linking the refund request order as a part of the connected to the another original order as a lookup field. Then let's look at the service and in life care. So the all customer get a bronze service. So what I'm and the silver, gold, different kind of levels, and we have also SLA associated with that one. So I'm proposing to have an entitlement per such kind of a tiers, and also when the case get created, we'll assign those particular entitlements by checking the particular order lines and using a case trigger. We are going to assign those entitlements to the cases. We'll also have multiple milestones for that particular entitlements. So quickly going into the data model. So we have the cases, we have a case milestones, but we have entitlements and associated with have entitlement process. And entitlement process can have multiple milestones, and those are connected to the cases. Then owners will also have the either email or phone to so that they can report the issues. So I'm proposing to use either email, also email to case, and also the CTI solution, which can be also integrated within a service cloud, so that the cases can be created by the agent directly from the platform. The next one, there are also some sensitive payment related query comes in. So I'm proposing to use a public group with a dedicated queue for them. And based upon somebody's flagging that these are the sensitive cases, so then we're assigning to that, but those cases to this particular queue, and only these people can look at this particular sensitive queries. Then additional tasks need to be also shown on the cases to the users. So because of the polymorphic relationship, all the agents should also able to see that task and activities associated with that particular case. Moving on to the data migration. Yeah, so we are retiring the .NET system. So it means we also need to migrate the data from .NET system, and objects that comes in a picture is nothing but the user accounts, then contacts, uh, and opportunity codes and order if they're already in a transit. So we need to take care of that one to move it into Salesforce platform. I'm proposing to use the ETL platform where you have a stage in the transform data and stage out tables as intermediate tables to do the data profiling, cleansing, and also preparing a data for and into the moving into the Salesforce system. Then we also have some data within Outlook and Excel. So that's where I was raising a risk that we also need to standardize that data with the help of a data architect and business, and to make sure that it is the one-time tedious activity to bring the data into the one single level, one single format to extract from the extract that one from the Excel, and then move it into the ETL. And from ETL, we can push into the Salesforce with the accounts and contacts. But moving forward, I'm strongly proposing not to use Outlook or Excel, but to make use of the Salesforce features of contact and account management. Then I'm also having a 40,000 inventory items. So that also need to be migrated from Salesforce. Those will be the asset, but also we need to make sure that they are connected to the proper product so that the sales team can use it in conjunction with the product selection during the opportunity lines. And also I foresee there is a huge data volume of the life asset of average almost 10 years. So that's around 6 million assets that I foresee. And I think I do not foresee any LDV requirement so far over here. Then all historic information need to be migrated to the Salesforce. So the all historic information I'm proposing to use a big object in the data model. Quickly going over there. Yeah, so that's a historic data related to the assets in a big object. But you need to keep in mind, we need to have the custom user interface to show that historical data. Then there also image folder, and all the photos are currently stored in the Exchange folder, and CTB wants this accessible from a Salesforce. So that's the image folder. So I'm proposing to migrate that one by using ETL to the X File Pro. And we'll also make sure that we'll link that particular data with respect to the orders by using the ETL, so that when somebody want to refer it directly from a Salesforce, we have a linkage between order and X file. Also, the few other steps as a part of a data migration, we'll do the parallel processing, then group record by parent IDs, and also need to take care of the delta migration for each country rollout that we want to go. And also the stop automations like a validations, triggers, for an example. And also the inform users, internal as well as external, especially for the onboarding point of view, because that's very important point from the adoption point of view. Then also we'll make sure that we'll send emails to the community user using the marketing platform to promote to promote this platform. In the Salesforce ecosystem, we'll have the 10% of the data load. We will do it in a SIT, move it in a SIT, the 50% in UAT and 100% in a pre-prod environment and 100% in the production environment. And also the sequence of the objects. First, we'll migrate users, accounts, contacts, then of course, products, pricings, opportunity codes, and order in that sequence. Quickly moving on to the visibility and security requirements. There are some VIP customers and only need to be shown to the certain in a central team. So I'm proposing to use the character-based sharing rules on accounts order cases to show their data. Then self-rep can be only their opportunities, and also they can show it to the team leaders. I'm proposing to use the account team, and as they are owner of the opportunity and OW is private, so they are secured in terms of seeing their own opportunity. Then operation team required visibility of opportunity within their country only. So I'm proposing to use a criteria-based sharing rule, and also making sure that we can use the role hierarchy within that criteria sharing rule. Then only operation can see the asset inventory and maintenance schedule. So OW will be private, but will provide a profile-based access to the operations team. Then the team leader should be able to see the bookings information, including all asset details. That will be also the profile-based access on the orders and asset to the team leaders. Then few of the payment details, including a PO number, should be limited to the just operation team. That will be done with the profile and the FLS, field level security. And a sales rep and team leader require the ability to upload the photos. So I'm proposing to use not a native mobile app, but a standard mobile app. And that will be also with the X File Pro and directly on the particular orders itself or opportunity. Then customer, I'm proposing to use a customer community so they can see the historical orders and also raise the cases directly from there. Quickly moving on to the reporting requirements. So account summary, including the details of open and recent cases, booking and opportunities. The booking in my case are orders. So this will be the custom report if I want to have all those things are need to be combined. Then operation requires some maintenance schedules that for the next 3 months. So that's my Apex job is running 3 months in advance to check, and all the records will be percolated into the maintenance object. Let me quickly go through that one. This one into the maintenance schedule object. So we should have a reporting on this particular object. Then a list of assets over 5 year old, they can directly do the reporting directly on asset objects. So that will be the custom reports on a maintenance plan and asset object. Then operations required a list of high risk customers, and though who have not damaged equipment who have damaged equipment in the past 6 months. So that will be standard report on account and cases. Yeah. And required easily accessible archive of all pictures to be present in the context. That's the reason I was talking about during the data migration itself. We'll make sure that when we are bringing the data from image folder to the Xfile Pro and behind the scene S3, we'll make sure that the connections will be created by having stamping the right records and linking it within Xfile Pro itself. Quickly moving on to the project and development requirements. So the first one is about how to minimize the code errors and ensure the code quality throughout the delivery. For that one, I'm proposing to have the architecture review board to set up the standards guidelines with respect to the code, not only respect to the code, but also to making sure that proper test classes and 75% that's minimum required that need to be get obeyed. The second one, the peer code review among the developers and a static code analysis tool like SonarQube integrated directly into the build, for example, Jenkins, so that any pull request done, if it is come, Jenkins is going to pick that one and first run that particular SonarQube static code analysis behind the scene to make sure that we have proper the coding standards get obeyed and quality will be optimum. I'm also proposing to use the source driven development. So it means the truth of the whole source it stays within the Bitbucket, for an example, in this case, if I'm that's the repository I'm proposing. And also we need to have that coding guidelines need to be followed by the every developer. So that is also kind of a the motivation for people and also guiding them to use that particular coding guidelines. Then the next one, how to engage users to the ensure adoptions. So at the first time the customer are going to use this system, and especially to onboard those particular user, we need to make sure that we send them a marketing emails upfront to onboard onto those particular customers. That's very important. And also send out teasing emails, and also the us tell them that okay, please anticipate that you will getting the emails to onboard on the customer community. That for external users. And for internal users, I'm also proposing to use check the login history. Also there are standard app Accenture dashboard directly from the Salesforce lab, which provides the adoption of the Salesforce system by looking into the login history, for an example, and motivate people. And also we can send out the marketing email campaigns to even to the internal people to onboard the system. And also we need to provide the training materials uh, in a different languages of that particular countries, and also the trainer concept, and also the user manual need to be there in a different language, and also need to be validated by the one of the SME within that particular country. So that's the way we can ensure that adoption can be increased to promote the platform as much as possible. The next one, a clear understanding what are the responsibility of the different people. So for that one, I'm proposing to use the RASI matrix to make sure that we know from a management till the ground level who is working and what are the activities they are undertaking as part of this particular project, and also making sure that we have a traceability matrix within a Jira. So till the users from the user story get created by the POs to the user story get actually promoted in the production, and also the defect comes in, everything can be tracked within the Jira as a traceability matrix as such on that one. Then the next one, they also have a quarterly leadership strategy meeting and would like to able to show the progress within 6 months. And the second meeting after the project meeting begins, it means only 3 months left. So it means the project is already started. That's my assumption. So in that case, we need to see that what is the progress of the project. Are we on a track? And the next one, if that's not the case, then we need to make sure that we need to finalize the main components that we need to deliver as part of this particular project in the next 3 or 4 months, and what are the dependencies that are still need to be looked after by the top level management. It could be the budgeting, or it could be a planning, or it could be a team dependency which is not part of this particular team, for an example. So that need to be identified, and anything that is related to the management need to be communicated very strongly around that one. Making sure that the PO making taking the minimum viable products for the next 3 months, what need to be delivered as part of the project, and also maintaining the red log at the project level, but also highlighting the very important points that need to be attended by the management team. Then they would also like to have a self-sufficient team after the new releases. Okay, that it means they do not want to completely rely on the SI. So for that one, I'm proposing to use the whole CI/CD strict need to be laid down so that the internal team people also can be make use of that one during the hands-on during the project itself, and also they can continue during the maintenance project as such. So the each developer will have their own scratch org, and they can commit the code into the Bitbucket. Okay, they can try the pull request, and also the quality with respect to the quality, as I mentioned, we'll have the SonarQube for static code analysis, peer code review, and also the regression testing when we are deploying some to code onto the CI environment. That is the first litmus test for the code. I'm also proposing to use the progressive testing. So it means you're only testing the change which are the new as such as part by the testing team. So once everything is fine on a CI environment, we can move to the SIT environment by promoting the code from the develop to the release branch, and where we perform the system and integration test. Once that particular testing has been completed and is successful, we can move the code to the UAT, which is nothing but a partial copy sandbox, where we perform the acceptance testings and also the mobile browser testing for mobile browser testings, because we have a native app, and also the browser testing, especially for the communities. Once that testing has been successful, we move the code to the pre-pod, especially for the deployment testing, as well as to perform the data migration testing, performance testing, and security testing. For the security testing, we need to connect to the Salesforce team to make sure that there is a readiness available from a Salesforce to do that particular security testing. And once everything is fine, we can move the code to the production, where you can perform the sanity test on the existing capabilities as well as smoke testing for the new capabilities. Any bugs that arises in a production will have the scratch off the hotfix environment, and will make sure that that particular code not only going to the production back, but also making sure that is going into the main repositories. That nothing but the from the master to the development branch. So here the little bit about the branching strategy. So we'll have the develop branch. That's the from where the people take the code to start working on a feature, but the develop branch will be actually copied from the master branch to start with that one. Once every developer finish their development, they can move the code into the develop branch, and from develop it goes to the release, and from release it goes to the master. I'm also proposing to use a few products, for example, Jira for testability metrics to each and every Jira story's defect or the user story can be tracked. Confluence for the technical documentation, and that can be linked to the Jira directly. Then also Selenium for the testing, then Fortify for the security testing, and SonarQube for the static code analysis. So that's the way. Once the CI/CD process is enabled, then the people can onboard, and the people can use the CI/CD, and also they can use it in a maintenance mode later on. And whole this process need to be educated to the internal people to use it in future. Then the next one, so they would like to able to rapidly enable the system to operate in the different markets. That's the plan, and it's also involved a lot of different languages and currency comes in a picture. So for that one, we need to have a guideline for if we want to go in another market, what are the steps need to be taken. For example, train the trainer, so that we can be ready upfront to train the people in that particular countries where we want to open up. Also the language enablement, taking the help of the expert agencies to make sure that the language in the Salesforce as well as for the communities and up to the standard, so that people will not have a problem later on. Then also the onboarding of the user every time, that we need to take care of that one. It's applicable to both internal as well as for the external users. So we need to have proper email campaigns that we already created. We can reuse that one. The delta migration we need to consider per regions. If they have any other systems, for example, then we need to make sure that we are considering the migration, reuse the migration technique that we already deploy to the for the at a different time. Then I'm also proposing to use a COE to make sure that we have proper involvement and also traction can be getting from the different countries. And we need to set up some guidelines process to onboard the new market, which is kind of a checklist when you want to onboard a new market. When I'm talking about a center of excellence to execute a project, that's very important. So I'm proposing to use the steering committee. I propose this is the same steering committee that we already have it over here at the strategy level meeting committee. And also I'm proposing to use the COE, where we have business and IT streams. On a business, we have a change control board to keep track of the number of requirement that goes in and according to the budget and planning. Communication management team, very important role to make sure that to onboard internal external user and also make them a collaborative environment among the people. Then business architects, especially because of the data issues with respect to the Excel and different email. So we need to make sure that the data glossary is a enterprise-wide data glossary should be there, so that everybody talking in the same language. Because of the new market, there might be some legal thingy comes up. So that's why I'm proposing to use some legal team. And also the business SME, very important. If there are any regional specific changes, we need to consider that one. And also the PMO to help out the project managers. Then on IT side, we have architects from integration, Salesforce and EA and data, as well as the different Scrum team from a Salesforce and integration, and also release manager, testing teams, as well as the security specialist, because we are talking about the community. To facilitate this one, I'm proposing to use the safe agile methodology, where we have the architectural review board, then a sprint demo, daily scrums, retrospective, and weekly project status meeting to facilitate the whole project governance around this thing. So all these different elements are very, very crucial for the successful execution of the project. With this, I would like to conclude the presentation. Thanks a lot.
Nice. Thank you a lot.
Thank you a lot. I will pause the recording now. See you in 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, can you text me directly?
Yes, will do. Okay.
Sure.
Right, thank you for the presentation. Looking at your data model, there's a requirement that the history of usage of assets should be able to be reported on. I can't see how you meet that in your data model. Can you just talk me through that?
Yeah, so I have a big object for that one to store the historical data with respect to the asset over there. Traditionally, you can't do the direct reporting on that one, but what you can do, you can have another custom object where you can have the summarized report of that historical data, and you can have a reporting on top of that one. But if you do not want to have that kind of a summarized reporting on top of that one, then in that case, we need to move the data to the Einstein Analytics, for example, and then we need to have a reporting, and also the required people need to get a EA licenses to view that reporting.
Okay, so just follow up on that. How does, I know you're migrating into that object, but how does new data created in Salesforce end up in that object? How are you pushing it in?
Yeah, so that is based upon the orders when that particular asset has been used. So once that particular order get complete in terms of a asset deassembly of that particular location, so in that at that particular point, we'll make sure that we'll create a record in the historical data for that particular asset, that this particular asset has been used for this particular order. I missed that in the solution.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I would like to ask you to open your system landscape. And
1 second, it's wrong. Yeah.
okay, and you mentioned that you are going to replace this static website. Could you justify why and generally what was your thinking process to make this decision?
Yeah. So one of the reason is that this particular website having only the few static contents and not changing quite often, and normally the website use behind the scene having a strong CMS, but if it's only the static contents and not being refreshed for longer period of time, then we can also bring it directly onto the Salesforce community, and Salesforce having its own CMS, and it doesn't require too much maintenance if it is not being so much changed quite often. That's the reason I propose to use the community as a guest and to bring the capabilities of that website into the Salesforce.
Okay, but does it mean that you can just copy the static HTML code from the website and upload it to Salesforce community?
No, so that need to be recreated directly within a Salesforce. But I will take my solution back. I will not go with the replacement of that one. What I will do, I will use the Drupal-based website as it is, and I will use the CMS Connect to improve the branding of that community that we have it for our customers as well as for the engineers. So I will take back my solution.
Okay, thank you. Johann?
Thank you very much, candidate. Can you please go to your licenses?
Yeah.
So you have a heavy use of the order object. Can you please walk me through the limitations of the sales order object, or are you using the work order object?
I'm using a proper order object.
So is there any limitations around the order object in regards to licenses?
So order object is available in a Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, as well as into the Community Cloud. So I do not foresee any disadvantage of the order objects as such.
Okay, let's assume there is a limitation around the order object and the Service Cloud license. Would this change your solution?
If that's the case, then I think we need to introduce, for example, the work order. That work need to be done with respect to that particular opportunity to facilitate that particular mechanism by which the team leaders can work on those particular work order items while developing a particular location.
Okay, especially for a scalability in the future, is there any advantages of having the work order object?
The advantage for the work orders in future, it supports field service lighting related capabilities that comes in, where people need to be their fields and need to also change directly, and also need to have the some kind of a mechanism by which the people need to monitor somebody's activity and need to send to the different location for some kind of a fixing the particular location areas. Then that would be the useful in future if you want to have that work order.
Okay, thank you very much.
On in the visibility and security section on page 7, the final line about customers needing to see their booking history and raise cases, etc. The order item is long-lived and it has multiple owners. So how does the customer retain visibility of that throughout the life cycle of the order and indeed the life cycle of a case?
Yeah, so in order and cases, we are also marking the account lookup. So in a sharing set, we can actually create a 2 sharing set of one for order and one for cases. So based upon look account or contact relationship, they should be able to see the related order and cases.
Just explain a sharing set to me.
Yeah, so on a sharing set, we'll create a 2 sharing set, one sharing set, and we'll have a 2 different object settings, one for order and one for cases. So when you're creating a case, we are making sure that we are having a lookup field on account. Same goes for order and order lines. We'll also making sure that we'll have a lookup for account. So the sharing set, for example, here in this case, if that particular lookup get match up, then the user will get access.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, I would like to ask you about your license for team leaders. Could you explain why it's going to be Service Cloud?
Yeah, so for team leaders, they should also able to create a few cases, and those particular when the de-assembly happens. Let me go through that particular area. And during the de-assembly area, they also need to create a cases, and those cases might be also related to the entitlements. So that's the reason I gave them a Service Cloud license. But if that's not the case, and there's nothing relationship with the tiers that we have with the bronze and silver and gold, and entitlement doesn't come in a picture in conjunction with the cases for those damage cases, then for them the Sales Cloud license is suffice.
Okay, because my concern was about a moment when sales rep is going to be promoted to be a team leader. And in this case, could you remind me, could you just change easily Sales Cloud license into Service Cloud license, or how do you want to handle this kind of the promotion in your solution?
So in that case, team leader becomes a sales rep, right? Did I understand the question correctly?
No, I understand that sales rep can be promoted as a team leader, or you do not understand it in this way? Like you have 2 different kind of licenses, and I want to understand what are the limitations of managing them from the single Salesforce org point of view when you have some kind of contact with Salesforce and so on.
Yeah, so in that case, we need to have the, if suppose sales rep promoted to the team leader, for example, okay, so in that case, we need to have a different license need to be assigned to that particular user. So that will be complete, that will be the change on his user, where actually we need to assign a different license. And of course, we need to also change the profile that will be of the Service Cloud licenses profile that is there for the team leaders to the sales rep.
Okay, that's answered my question, thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you please go to your risks and assumptions slide?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You mentioned that you retired the CTI system. Is there any risks you see around that?
Yeah. With the retiring CTI solution, it means the already those particular phone number already published on the websites. So it means those phone number not need to be replaced, but in with the CTI solution, you can also import the numbers into the other CTI solution provider. So that need to be mitigated. To mitigate that one, we can keep the existing phone number, but on a PSTN of the new CTI, we can actually import those particular numbers. So the phone number lines will stay for the customer. The only thing is that the now phone number will be routed onto the CTI solution rather than the older.
Okay, is there, do you see the CTI project within the Salesforce team?
The CTI project sits in the team which manages the case handling. So they also need to maintain that whole IVR solution. You need to be there in the new CTI solution, but it's mostly the business activity. But as far as the Apex Sync product installations and configuration comes in, that's a responsibility of the Salesforce team.
Okay, thank you very much.
Look at your system landscape, please. You've got an integration to the planning systems, the permit systems. Sorry, could you talk me through the flow of that in a UML style sense? So what initiates it, the steps in the journey back to getting a response from those permit systems? I'm comfortable with your assumption that it's near real time. Yeah.
So if it is that's not the case, if it is real time, is that to your question?
No. Just talk me through the steps in it. Your assumptions are fine. I think, excuse me, I said near real time. I think you said real time. That is fine as an assumption, but just talk me through the steps in that integration flow.
Yeah, sure. Let me go through that requirement quickly. Yeah, so as a part of the sales team, sales and marketing team working on this particular account itself, they need to have the permit is required. So for that one, they are actually sending, let's the first one. Yeah. Okay. So when a new customer onboards, they would like to have the permit of that particular, in that particular location, it is there or not, that need to be checked. So I think I'm combine two things in a one, as when I was talking about this particular solution. One is a credit check and a permit system. So let me clarify that one right now over here. So for the permit system, to get it for a particular location, so that sales rep is not making a mistake, then I would suggest to have a flow which actually calls the permit system via ESB by using the Open API specification to have a Swagger definition. The ESB will route to the right permit system, and that flow will be triggered by the when the particular opportunity get created. So basically, that's the web on the trigger of that particular opportunity creation. That flow will be invoked from the Apex itself. Okay. Or sorry, I will take back that one. That particular flow will be created on opportunity creation. So we do not require Apex. It will be directly the flow on the account opportunity creation. Sorry for that.
Sorry, so the flow launches when?
When the opportunity get created.
Right, okay, on the first save of that. So
on
the new
first,
record.
Yeah,
okay. Okay, thank you.
And could you show me your data model, please?
Yeah.
So I see here product bundles, product options, and you mentioned about quite custom development for some Lightning Web component to check all these rules and generally make the configuration. Yeah. Are there any other options? What do you consider for these requirements? Or to be more specific, why do you want to build it custom, not take something out of the box?
Yeah, so I have considered CPQ for the same, okay, but I do not want to go with a CPQ because with a CPQ it's very heavy in terms of a complex product bundlings and also the different processes that we have it in the CPQ product itself. On that one, here we just require a lightweight touch point with respect to the product and the product bundles and product options. That's the one of the reason actually I went with the without CPQ, but having the lightest touch point, a few objects to support this capability within a Sales Cloud itself.
Okay, but regardless of Salesforce CPQ as a big product, there are lots of App Exchange solutions. Could you guide me through your build versus buy decision process?
Yeah, so I would strongly propose to have the build, not build, but a buy versus the build or any customization as such in the platform itself. If suppose that product bundle and product option is supported by any one of the App Exchange products, okay, then I would prefer to have that one. I'm not aware of any such kind of App Exchange product available. That's why I went with a custom solution. But if time permits, I can do the more assessment to find out if there's an App Exchange product available to do the similar mechanism to avoid any custom development as much as possible.
Okay, thank you. Johann?
Yeah, thank you very much. There is some requirement around the tracking, the usage of the assets object. Can you please walk me through again?
Can you just talk me about a business requirement? Which one and which section, please?
Okay, maybe I take it back. We talk about it later. You recommend the use of account teams, and then certain people work together with certain account team members on a regular basis. Is there an alternative solution you can choose?
The alternative solution, I think the account team is one of the best because these are the regular people actually working on that particular account. Okay, so okay, that's where I think the opportunity team could be the better one because the people are not working accounts. Sorry, that's for the opportunity. So I think the opportunity team is a better solution to collaborate the team leader and also the sales rep rather than account.
Can you justify why opportunity team is now the better solution?
The reason for that one, because here the team leader need to work on that particular opportunity and they will make sure that that opportunity get realized in terms of the orders and also setting up the whole locations over there. So if particular account having a multiple opportunity and there are suppose multiple team leaders assigned to the each opportunity, that's the opportunity team is the best way to go forward in that case.
Thank you very much. Is there, again, coming back, if certain people work with other people on a regular basis on opportunities, is there a functionality you can think of which fulfills that requirement?
People working on opportunity together on that one.
On a regular basis, let's say the salesperson always works together with a certain person from finance or so from a certain.
So that's a default opportunity team, for example.
Thank you very much. Then.
Can we go back to your landscape? You are using Xfile Pro. I'm not familiar with it. Can you just talk me through your justification for why you're using that? Is it on platform? And if it just generally your thought process through that?
Yeah. Sure. So Xfile Pro is the App Exchange product, which does nothing but connecting a third-party storage system. So even I'm proposing Xfile Pro, I haven't mentioned in this particular diagram, but we also require, for example, Amazon S3 or SharePoint to have the data storage available because Xfile Pro, what it does, it actually connects the records within a Salesforce system to the specific folder available in that particular S3. So whenever there is a on record, a file gets uploaded as attachment, the Xfile Pro moves that file to the S3 or a SharePoint. It also makes the relationship within that particular Xfile Pro App Exchange, the dedicated objects within that one. And also it removes the file from the attachment directly from a Salesforce. So with this one, we can reduce the data storage within a Salesforce platform, but at the same time, we can also maintain the security at optimum by the specific people will have access to those particular files attached to those records, but the files are not stored on a Salesforce platform.
I don't see the benefit from a security point of view there. If you can access the opportunity, you'll be able to access the file in the same way that you'd be able to access if it was stored locally, surely?
You are right. So I'm just doing it to saving the data storage on a Salesforce platform.
Okay, and did you do volume calculations on that?
Yeah. So as per the Act licenses, let me go to the Act. Yeah, I think it missed out at the bottom while taking a photo. So it's around 770 GB of the file storage. And also we have the data storage that comes in when we have the different kind. The issue is that there are multiple places in this particular scenario when the file comes in. I haven't taken proper assumptions on that one, but I speculated that will be definitely more than 770 GB, considering that the files are there for the location, the layouts, and also the old files that also we need to take it from the older systems. So that's actually prompt me to go for the App Exchange product as such, but haven't done the exact proper calculation that how much will be the load, because not every time mention how much is the MB or GB the file size will be.
Okay, thank you.
Just a follow up there. Is there any out of the box or a standard Salesforce functionality you could consider instead of Xfiles Pro?
The another solution could be to store it on a Salesforce itself and to buy the extra storage possibly.
And is there a third solution if you want to still connect external file systems?
You can use a file connect, but here the main important thing is that we need to upload the documents, so write operations, and that's where the file connect is only read-only operations. So that could be an issue over there in this case. Or other option could be from the mobile or from the Salesforce. You can upload a document to the, for an example, in the box, and then you can use a file connect to see the document directly in the Salesforce. That could be another option.
So what's your final solution?
I will go with the Xfile Pro for a time being. Okay, that's the still a working solution. But if suppose there is no budget constraint, then the best option is to increase the file storage of the Salesforce platform.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I would like to ask about two things related to your customer's native mobile application. First of all, why native mobile application, if you can justify it, and what are the alternative options which you thought about?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I thought of using the mobile publisher. But then I thought in the scenario it mentioned that there is a huge branding efforts that has been done by this particular company is planning to do. So that's the reason actually it prompted me to get a native app that will provide a best-in-class mobile experience to the user. And that's actually lead me to go with the native apps. But if suppose if you are using a mobile publisher which is based upon a community, and if you can manage the experience, the user experience for the customer the way the people would like to see the customers, and if the organization is happy, this company, then mobile publisher could be an option. But my only reason to go with the branded app because of the assets and branding assets, and more emphasis on the UX by this scenario.
Okay, let me ask the follow-up question. Let's say that your assumption is correct and mobile publisher is not an option due to this heavily branded requirements. But the company would like still have some kind of the flexibility. And let's say when they add a new field on the case, they don't want to go through their agency to ask about modifying this native mobile application. What will be then another approach which you can consider?
So they do not want to go with that agency, and they do want to do it on its own, basically.
They would like to, for example, add a field on case in Salesforce and immediately in their customer's mobile application have this field available.
Yeah, so if they are still using a native app, then one of the best option is that there are some API available on the UI API for interface API, if I'm not wrong. So that can be used by that particular team to also render the API with additional fields.
Okay, so the last follow-up question in this case, could you explain what is the difference between native app and hybrid app?
Yeah, so in this case for the customers, I will go with the hybrid app, not with the native app. Thanks for correcting. The reason for that one, the customers could be using the iOS or the Android phones. So creating just a native app might not be suffice. So I will go with the hybrid apps where we can create a one code base, but we can deploy the same particular app on two different platforms as such. So that will be benefit for the customers. So I will not go with a native app for the customers. I will go with the hybrid apps in that case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much on that. Let's assume that so currently all internal users get an iPhone, which is very generous of the company, but some users are complaining and want to bring their own device. Let's assume the company switches to a bring your own device policy. What implications do you see on your solution for that?
Yeah, so that will have implications because I'm not using a native app, by the way. So I'm using a standard mobile app. So this is wrong on this particular system landscape. So if your question is with respect to the just going for the native app, then better to prepare for the future and to have also the hybrid app for the even for internal users. But I'm not using that in my scenario, just to bear in mind. And that's a better approach for future as well.
So again, can summarize, let's say the company still has a bring your own device policy, but wants to keep some control over what users have the app installed and whatnot. What is the implications on your strategy?
So that will be the implication on the MDM strategy, in which we need to actually send out particular app towards those particular two different type of devices over here. I'm not bit clear with the question. I'm using a standard mobile app. So in a not native mobile app, that's a mistake over here. So with the standard mobile app, it doesn't matter actually which operating system or which different devices that you are using on a mobile, either Apple or either you are using Android, it doesn't matter in that case. I just need to take care of the MDM policy when I'm actually deploying the BYOD on the
Uh,
corporates.
Yeah, to be a little bit more specific, the IT department still wants to have some control over who installs the app on which phone, and not just let everybody install the app on every phone and just log in with their normal username. Is there any way they can control that?
Yeah, they can control with the MDM. So in a MDM, they can decide to which user can download this app. So with a corporate portal, they can see it on the mobile, and they can only people who needs access through Salesforce through the mobile, they can control and give them. So the people can download from the corporate portal directly on the mobile devices.
So they can somehow, so when I bring my own standard Android phone, I cannot download the normal standard Salesforce app.
You can download the standard mobile app on that one. That's technically possible. And but when you connect to your my domain, that's where actually we need to put down a restriction so that people will only access through the proper network, basically. I will take back that one. I think the question, if I'm not wrong, okay, just to clarify, is that how to control if the BYOD policy comes in, so that people can use that particular mobile app on their devices. Am I right?
Yes, correct. Can you fulfill that requirement with the normal standard Salesforce app?
You can fulfill that requirement with the standard mobile app, but we need to also make sure that we have a multi-factor authentication need to be in a place, because when you are connecting to the Azure AD, so depending upon the Azure in this case, okay, it's in a cloud, so you should able to authenticate, but I would strongly support to have the MFA in place to have better security.
Okay, okay, thank you very much.
Can look at your final slide, the environment map. Sorry, yeah, it was slide 10, apologies.
Yeah.
You talked about using scratch orgs. Talk me through some of the differences, pros and cons on scratch orgs compared to a regular org-based approach.
Yeah, the scratch orgs having a lifetime, less lifetime, okay, so around a week compared to the developer sandbox can stay longer period of time. Then also the way the deployment happens on a scratch orgs and also happens on a development, normal development is a little bit different with respect to the metadata types that comes in over there, because some of them it's work with the JSON and some of the for metadata that the normal for development developer org is in an XML fashion over there. So that's one of the, that's a few differences between a scratch org and the developer org. And also the scratch org is mainly for the development purpose and also for the quick testing. I suppose if you want to do the spinning up the one quick environments and do that one, so that's the purpose of the scratch org. The developer orgs, okay, stay for a longer period of time, and we can have the different types of testings if you want to have it on developer orgs.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned Selenium on this in your list of tools, but I can't see which environments Selenium would be running on. So just what would just broadly your approach to test strategy be?
Yeah, so from a testing point of view, I will be using the Selenium directly on the pre-prod environment to perform the testing over there. So that will mostly for the UI testing as such to taken care of that one. But also I can also use the Selenium also as a part of the regression testing on the CI as well as the SIT UAT. So that's one of the best thing that once you finish with the deployment, you can run the particular regression test so that you will, and that regression testing is based upon the critical components that we have it in a project. So you can only apply the testing so that you can also save time. And for the rest of the new capability, you can have the progressive testings and testing based upon the new features are going to introduce in this particular scenario, or in Scrum, in the sprint, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I would like to ask you about your user adoptions and their user manuals. You mentioned that they are going to prepare them with different versions with different languages, and I would like to ask you, where do you want to store these user manuals?
Yeah, so for this user manual, I suspect they are big corporates and they also have their own intranet inside in it, and they can put it on their own SharePoint, for an example, so that people can have access to those particular manuals as such. So that's my assumption that they have the internal corporate SharePoint where they can store this particular manuals.
Okay, but if you want to keep manuals off platform, is there any out-of-the-box feature which you can use inside Salesforce to increase user adoption?
Yes, so in a Salesforce, recently there is a feature by which you can have the tips provided on each different screen as such. I forgot the exact name of that particular feature. That's not a kind of a user manual, but it's all about how to use that particular user interface as such on that one. So that feature can be enabled, and the user manuals, if there's somebody also want to have it on a Salesforce, we can put it in a one single library, and that library can be made it public so that all the people can access.
Okay, yeah, this feature is by the way called in-app guidance. And do you remember, are there any limitations in terms what kind of the content you can put, or for example, do you can use different language versions inside?
Yeah, so in-app guidance, if I'm not wrong, recently I read that, okay, you can also support with multiple languages, okay, and also you can provide a notifications as well, so that it supports there is a maintenance coming up and there is some kind of a downtime required, few minutes or so, something, you can also put down a notice directly on the Salesforce platform.
Okay, and what about rich content like video or images?
So if I'm not wrong, I'm not so much familiar with the in-app guidance as such, because as only know that it can take the rich content, for an example, the text and the highlight, bold colors and all that, but I'm not sure about taking the rich media contents into directly into the platform as such.
Okay, thank you. Johann?
No, thank you very much. You mentioned the need for GDPR. Can you walk me through the implications on GDPR on your project and data model, data migration, and so forth, please?
Yeah, so with the GDPR, you need to make sure that the GDPR rules get followed. The first of foremost things is that you need to provide a mechanism to the users by which they can request for their own information. What do you have it actually in your organization or in Salesforce org, and also with the other systems, as well as provide opportunity to delete their data if that such kind of a request comes in. So in an organization, you need to also have a DPO function, which actually takes care of that one. From a system point of view, you need to analyze where the PI data is going to be get stored, either on contacts or a lead objects. And also in Salesforce, there is a mechanism while creating a field to mark that those particular fields are the PI one. That's called data classification within a Salesforce system. So that's the first step. And if we are going with a start org, the new org, then I would also recommend to use the individual objects so that you can keep the consent of all the people stored at a one central location over there. Then I'm also proposing to use the data masking to make sure that whenever you refresh from production to the lower environments, you can also mask the data of the users and especially the contacts in the lower environment as a part of the post refreshed activity. I think these are the main mechanism by which you can have the GDPR rules can be followed. So the whole GDPR rules is mostly related to the process and how you store and process the data.
Okay, thank you very much. There is the right to be forgotten about GDPR. How would you implement that in your project?
Yeah, so to implement that one, I will provide a mechanism in a customer community to raise a case, and with that case type of request of information or request of deletion, for an example, that you just ask. And when that case comes in, we have a DPO function, which either the sales rep or some other people who can also provide them a Salesforce access so that they can have a look at that particular request. And if the data is spread out in a multiple systems, then there should be a either different automated activity required to gather the data from the older system. But if that's not the case, if it is on a Salesforce system, then also we can have some query or automation can be done by using Apex to gather the data from all the objects that are predefined, and we can send out a request, for an example, request of information to directly to the user. Or in case of a deletion, we also need to check what are the different objects connected, or is there any live data, for an example, orders or codes that running in the system itself. So we need to make sure that we should obey those exceptions, and then we can delete the data of that particular user or mask the data if it is necessary.
Okay, what about, we talked about the CTA integration and other third-party systems like the S3. What about this part?
So the other systems in a CTI, for an example, okay, so that's something that need to be taken as a activity to send the data to the ESB, and ESB should make a request to those systems. And expectation is that those particular systems provide an API for the deletion by taking the what contact ID or other informations, and those system will do the deletion. So ESP will orchestrate to delete the data or get information from those systems.
Okay, thank you very much.
There's a requirement from the system landscape that users should be able to access the SAP system directly from Salesforce without additional authentication. Can you just talk me through how that happens if a user is in a user who does have the rights to SAP is logged into Salesforce? Let's say they click a button. What are the steps that are happening?
Yeah, so that will be the SP initiated flow, because they are using, both systems are using the AD as a identity store and also the Azure. So that's my assumption that SAP is also connected to the AD as identity store and also using the identity provider Azure as a systems over there. So that will be the SP initiated flow. So it means the user is already logged in within a Salesforce system and they see a link, okay, to click on a SAP. So as soon as you click the link of the SAP itself, then SAP will redirect to the identity provider, but the user is already logged in that particular system itself in that case. So the assertion will be provided to the SAP system. The SAP system will validate that assertions, will check the certificate which is already, they got it from the Azure systems, and accordingly it will validate the users and it will allow user to log into the SAP system.
Okay. And what about your offboarding? So when a user leaves, how are we deprovisioning them across your landscape?
Yeah, so when the user is leaving, so it means the first of all in AD that particular user get deactivated, and accordingly that user also get wiped out from the ADFS itself. So we need to have a mechanism from Azure. So Azure can make a REST API call towards the Salesforce as well as towards the SAP system to also deactivate those user as a part of user deprovisioning.
Okay, thank you.
Could you open your data model, please?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ask you about entitlements because they came to your diagram out of the blue. And if you can explain what kind of relationship between entitlements and different objects are missing.
Okay, so here the case having the case milestones, and the milestone how you get it based upon the bronze, silver, that is because of the entitlements. The entitlement process is not kind of an object which is shown outside. This is actually kind of a hidden object behind the scene. So basically the entitlement directly having the milestones, but behind the scene we have a process by which you can create a milestone under the entitlements. And based upon the silver gold, okay, we can have the entitlements towards the cases can be assigned, and based upon that case we'll have a milestones around that one. So the way the data model is there, your question is that if I'm not wrong, am I missing some relationship, right?
Like, for example, how you can match entitlement with account or with asset, and generally how the system is able to run the correct entitlement process for a specific case.
Yeah, so one of the relation I miss out is the relationship between account and entitlements. That's nothing but a master detail relationship, which I forgot. So basically, if one of the account is a gold or a bronze, okay, so that will be stamped on the account itself. And then specific, when the case get created at that particular time, the account specific entitlement will be attached to the case. So that's one of the relationship missing between account and entitlements over here in this case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. You have a very complex UI for the equipment availability Lightning Web Component. I'm a little bit scared that the UI might overwhelm our users. How do you make sure the UX and UI fulfills the requirement that doesn't overwhelm our users?
Yeah, so that's a very important aspect from the UX, from a usability point of view, because what we're trying to do, we are trying to do the three things at the same time within that exact same scenario. That's why actually I went with the UX. First of all, when order get assigned to the team leaders, okay, they need to know that the matching of the assets available or not. Plus, also checking the asset which are not available in this particular depot, but also available in a different depot to check that one, and also ability to make a call to the SAP system based upon the new product is required or not. So the user adoption is very, very important, as I stated in this particular scenario itself. To make sure that is happen, they need to have a very much sleek UI in which they need to have the proper information available in front of them and having a less activity to do manual actions to make sure that they can get a right asset that required for that particular location to be set up over there. So that's the reason I went with the LWC component. To increase the adoption of that particular LWC component, I will use that in-app guidance to make sure that how to use that particular LWC component, and also the usability will be considered which buttons at which place, so that the UI consideration will be taken to make sure that we have a better implementation of that LWC component.
Is there any specific project management methodology which usually helps on developing better UX?
So that's required involvement of the UX team as well to make sure that that something should become as a part of the user story, that how the placing of that particular UI and the different components need to be there on the particular screen, but that should be as a part of the user story need to be created, and that will be part of the whole agile delivery as such. Once we do that one, we also need to have a more incarnation of that particular user interface till the user base is satisfied with that particular one. But I'm not clear with your requirement in terms of a methodology. So I'm already proposing the Scrum Agile methodology to process this one. But before that, we'll also have the UX team will develop the layout of the user interface, how will it will look like, and then only the development team will take up the development later on.
Thank you very much for that.
Are we out of the time? Sorry, guys, or do we make full hour?
No, we have a couple of. I think we can stop it for now, or one last round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Or is the candidate already tired?
No.
Then we have to go on. Yeah.
There was mention and a requirement of high net worth individuals. Are you proposing, and I can't see it in your data model, person account, and if not, why not for meeting those requirements?
Can you just point me to the which section
it's
of
in
the requirement?
sharing and visibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, point 1A.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't look after that word actually, Nate, what individuals as such. But here I am assuming all the people's as the business accounts. The reason for that one, it actually makes the reason for that one, because even though are the individual, okay, it's actually the business relationship with those particular users with this company. So they will also having the PO and their old companies also paying for this particular event as such, not from that personal thingy. And there is no B2C kind of a proposition I see over here. It's still it is actually connections to the high individual net worth individuals, but I'm treating them still as a company. And I think that is a better way actually, because then I can have also the simplified data model without any complexity bringing in this data model.
Okay.
I would like you to. Oh, do you have any follow-up?
No, sorry, no follow-up. Yep.
Okay, so I would like you to open your system landscape system.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that you are going to use ETL and bulk API 2.0. Let's assume that the company already owns some ETL product, but it supports only 1.0. Could you explain what are the differences, and is it going to change anything in your solution?
Yeah, it will change a few parts in the solution, because the bulk API 2.0 automatically break up the files according to the sizes that required for the job application within a Salesforce for a batch processing. But I'm using if you are using a bulk API 1.0, then ETL must individually break that file according to the particular file size that is required for that particular batch processing toward the Salesforce. There is a limitation of 150 million records you can submit per day, but you can have the certain number of batches on top of that one. So that batch processing need to be done by the bulk API 1.0. The next one, then the bulk API 1.0, you also need to make a call to get a status for each one. Of course, you need to also do it in a 2.0, but you get a job ID for that one. But here in this case, as you are breaking up the file, it means you are also responsible for getting for each individual files response directly from the Salesforce to by making a query. I think these are the two important differences if I go with the bulk API 2.0.
What about the login process to Salesforce?
Yeah, so the login process, if I'm not wrong, the bulk API 2.0 supports OAuth processing as well. So we can't use the OAuth processing in that case. So it means with the bulk API 1.0 supports the session-based authentication. And so we need to deploy that session-based authentication in that case. So in that case, the JWT might not work.
Okay, thank you. Johann?
Thank you very much. This is you mentioned a data migration. Can you please walk me through the exact steps of the data migration as part of the project?
Yeah. So you want it just for a delta migration or all data migration, please?
Only the data migration.
Okay, so the delta migration predominantly done when you have the huge migrations in which you are migrating a data from one system to another system, in this case, the .NET to the Salesforce system. But you do the migration till certain number of days before, for example, 15 days to or 2 weeks before we migrate data into the Salesforce system, making it prepared for the go live. But also during that last 2 weeks, the data get percolated or additionally created or updated within a .NET system, which also you need to bring it in the Salesforce system. So just before go live, you also do the same processing with the ETL, getting a data from .NET, also the profile cleans in a shorter period of time. You deploy the existing process that you did in the ETL, you deploy that again in a short period of time. During that go live process, you will stop that .NET application. You will nobody will come into that particular application to update or create a record. You will take the record, you do the profile cleansing, transformations, everything, and you will push the data to the Salesforce. That's the reason you require a delta migration. Next to that one, in this particular scenario, if you are also onboarding a new markets, then also you're required to do the again the migration and a delta migration based upon which are the other system from which you are loading the data.
Thank you very much. Andrew, one last question.
I think I'm good.
Okay, then I will stop the recording now. Or any last words from our candidate? Do you want to walk us through the 25 limits you remember from the top of your head? You can pick 5 random limits to tell us now.
Top five random limits.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm also using the web2 case. In a web2 case, okay, we have a limit of maximum 5,000 requests per day. So that's something we need to keep in mind. If suppose if you are have to have also the web2 case directly coming from the website, we are not using in this case, but still that's one of the limit that you need to obey. One of the limit which I already told that the bulk API 2.0, 150 million maximum records you can migrate per day as such. That's something that you need to take care of that one. The other limit, the criteria-based sharing rules, you have only 50, and ownership will have the 250 rules out of that total 300 rules that you have it in the system itself. So that's something you need to take care during the if you are having a going more and above on the sharing rules.
Any other random limit you can think of?
Platform events, please.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
So for platform limits, we have we can actually have a 250 events can be emit out, but only the 50,000 can be subscribed to the external system. But other things can need to be managed internally as such. Means if you raise the platform events, only internal different Apex can actually subscribe to those one. But if you have more than 50,000, the external systems cannot subscribe. So you need to buy additional platform event package for that one.
Okay, and based on this limit, could you remind me what kind of the Salesforce license are you going to use?
Based upon this particular limit, so here there are not mentioned about how many orders or how many opportunities are there in the context, which actually required to be sent out to the downstream system. And let me go through my integration quickly just to check where it's going to hit. So here I'm using the operations teams, and on order lines I'm creating SAP orders. So they're most likely that I may hit the limits with a more than 50,000 record, possibly if there are
No, my question was a little bit different because you gave me some number, and I'm asking because from this number immediately it came to which Salesforce license in terms of professional, enterprise, or unlimited are you going to recommend?
Yeah, so I'm recommending the unlimited edition for this particular scenario.
Okay, it's quite expensive. Are there any differences between enterprise and unlimited which justify this, or only this if limit?
Yeah, so the another limits that we have it with respect to the file and data storage. Okay, so we already have the huge data volume, and you base upon the number of user, you get the file storage and the data storage. And looking at this particular scenario, I foresee that there is data volume as well as the file storage that we required. Although we offloaded the file storage, but still it's better for the data volume to have the unlimited license for this one.
Okay, thank you.
And just the last one, how many criteria-based sharing rules can I have per object?
If I'm not wrong, that will be the criteria-based sharing rule. That will be 50.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, I think we, Andrew, one last, what's your favorite limit?
Favorite limit? File size for chatter files.
Yes, oh yeah.
2 GB max.
And but if it's from a mobile app, come on, let's have fun.
100 MB, that's
Yes.
not that's hard limit, that's a soft limit. But if you have a better internet connection, you can also upload as many as megabyte files.
Good. Thank you very much. I think with that we conclude. I stop the recording now.